By the word of the Lord, so now we're continuing on with 1 Kings 13. By the word of the Lord, a man of God came from Judah to Bethel, as Jeroboam was standing by the altar to make an offering. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be a continuation of the previous section, or if this is supposed to be the start of a new account altogether. It's hard to say. Remember, these texts don't pay that much attention to chronological sequencing, so I don't know if this is supposed to be a continuation of the previous paragraph. At least in our formats, we have paragraphs, or if it's just a continuation of the same thing. I don't know. At any rate, Jeroboam is by his altar offering a sacrifice, and a man of God, a man of the Lord, a man of God is coming to him. He, the man of God, cried out against the altar by the word of the Lord. O altar, altar, this is what the Lord says. That's capital L-O-R-D, Lord, right there. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. Now, this is at the end of the 600s BC, so this is close to 300 years from now. We are now somewhere at the end of the 900s BC, and we're talking about a man who will be born about 280 or so years from now. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. On you he will sacrifice the priests of the high places who now make offerings here. He's going to be scattering their dead bones over these places. That's a surefire way to make something unclean, is to bring it into contact with human remains or excrement. And that's what Josiah is going to do. And human bones will be burned on you. That means he's going to be desecrating these high places so they can never be used again. Now this is 300 years from now, so none of these people who are alive at this point in time are going to see this. So that same day, so in order to convince them of this is going to happen someday, that same day the man of God gave a sign. This is the sign the Lord has declared. The altar will be split apart, and the ashes on it will be poured out. So that's the sign that is going to happen, so the people of this day and time know that the Josiah will come along someday and do this. Because they're not going to be here to see it. That's going to be 280 or so years from now. None of these people are going to actually see that. So to convince them it's going to happen, they need a sign. So, when King Jeroboam heard what the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, he stretched out his hand to the altar and said, "Seize him!" But the hand he stretched out toward the man shriveled up, so that he could not pull it back. I don't know if that just means it hangs limp on his side or what that means. Also, the altar was split apart, and its ashes poured out, according to the sign given by the man of God by the word of the Lord. So that sign happened, which is supposed to be the confirmation to Jeroboam that the word of the Lord about Josiah will be carried out someday. Then the king said to the man of God, "Intercede with the Lord your God, and pray for me that my hand may be restored." So the man of God interceded with the Lord, and the king's hand was restored and became as it was before. Be quiet. Go back to sleep. We're not done with your nap, I can tell. You're just prancing around here all slap happy and acting stupid. Go back to sleep. When King Jeroboam heard what the man of God... Wait, I said already. I can't concentrate because I have Timber down here running back and forth. She'll probably go back to her nap in a minute or two. She does this a lot. She wakes up in the middle of her nap and then kind of dances around here acting crazy for about 5 minutes, and then she'll go back to sleep again. That's just kind of how she does it. The king said to the man of God, "Come home with me and have something to eat, and I will give you a gift." Solomon tried to do this with Samuel, too, a few times. Jeroboam wants to be seen by the people as being endorsed and approved by this man of God, and the man of God is not going to do that. But the man of God answered the king, "Even if you were to give me half your possessions, I would not go with you, nor would I eat bread or drink water here." If he gives him any more than half, he makes him king. That's why he cuts it off at half. "For I was commanded by the word of the Lord, You must not eat bread or drink water or return by the way you came. So he took another road and did not return by the way he had come to Bethel. Now there was a certain old prophet living in Bethel, whose sons came and told him all that the man of God had done there that day. So they must have been there for it. They must have seen it happen. He was not. I don't know if, I guess this is a genuine prophet. I don't know. This is a very strange story we've got coming up here. Very hard to pin down. Up until now, it's pretty straightforward, but it's going to take a weird turn here in the next few paragraphs. So the sons came and told their father what he had said to the king, what the man of God had said to the king. Their father asked him, which way did he go? And his sons showed him which road the man of God had taken, the man of God from Judah had taken. So he said to his sons, saddle the donkey for me. And when they had saddled the donkey for him, he mounted it, and rode after the man of God. He found him sitting under an oak tree, and asked, Are you the man of God who came from Judah? I am, he replied. So the prophet said to him, Come home with me, and eat. The man of God said, I cannot turn back and go with you, nor can I eat bread or drink water with you in this place. I have been told by the word of the Lord, You must not eat bread or drink water there, or return by the way you came. Up until now, this man of God is batting 1,000. He's done everything right so far. He's going to get deceived here in a moment. He's going to fall. The old prophet answered, I too am a prophet, as you are. And an angel said to me by the word of the Lord, Bring him back with you to your house, so that he may eat bread and drink water. But he was lying to him. So the man of God returned with him, and ate and drank in his house. He shouldn't have done that. He was fooled, he was deceived. He was. But he shouldn't have done it. He had been told in his own vision not to do this, and he did anyway, even though he was deceived for it. While they were sitting at the table, the word of the Lord came to the old prophet who had brought the man back. It's kind of difficult because neither of these guys gets names, so it's kind of awkward referring to them by these phrases. He cried out to the man of God who had come from Judah. So he's getting a vision from God himself here. He's getting an oracle put in his mouth straight from God here. And he says, This is what the Lord says. You have defied the word of the Lord, and have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. You came back and ate bread and drank water in the place where he told you not to eat or drink. Therefore, your body will not be buried in the tomb of your fathers. That was considered a big shame back in those days. Now, to us, it doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, after you're dead, it's not going to matter to you where you're buried. But it matters a lot in their culture where someone gets buried. Not burying someone in the proper place is a way of shaming that person and letting it be known that that person should be shamed. The person himself doesn't care. He's beyond caring after he's dead. But in the culture around them, if you shame him after he's dead, that's a lasting shame. But they live in an honor-shame culture here. It's different from our culture. We live in a guilty or innocent culture. God is trying to turn these people into a guilty or innocent culture through this law, but they still have very strong honor-shame culture surrounding them. So dying and not being given proper burial puts you in a state of permanent shame after your death. You wouldn't care anymore because you're dead. But those still living would care. While they were sitting at the table, I saw someone already. Okay. When the man of God had finished eating and drinking, it doesn't actually say he's going to die, like right now. It just says that after you die, your body won't be buried in the right tomb. So I don't know how distressed the man of God was at this point. I just don't know. When the man of God had finished eating and drinking, the prophet who had brought him back saddled his donkey for him. As he went on his way, a lion met him on the road and killed him, and his body was thrown down on the road, with both the donkey and the lion standing beside it. Some people who passed by saw the body thrown down there, with the lion standing beside the body, and they went and reported it in the city where the old prophet lived. This was an unusual sight, a dead body with both a lion and a donkey just standing there next to it. You're not going to see that very often. When the prophet who had brought him back from his journey heard of it, he said, It is the man of God who defied the word of the Lord. The Lord has given him over to the lion, which has mauled him and killed him. as the word of the Lord had warned him. The prophet said to his sons, "Saddle the donkey for me," and they did so. Then he went out and found the body thrown down on the road, with the donkey and the lion standing beside it. They're still there. The lion had neither eaten the body nor mauled the donkey. So the prophet picked up the body of the man of God, laid it on the donkey, and brought it back to his own city to mourn for him and bury him. Then he laid the body in his own tomb, and they mourned over him and said, "Oh, my brother." So he's not going to be buried in his father's tomb, but he was buried in this old prophet's tomb, the guy who led him to his death. After burying him, he said to his sons, "When I die, bury me in the grave where the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. For the message he declared by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the shrines and the high places in the towns of Samaria, will certainly come true." Even after this, Jeroboam did not change his evil ways. I'm sure this word came back to Jeroboam. All this information is probably given to us to prove the work of God behind all these things. The lion, the donkey standing there after the body was buried. You know, all these statements and prophecies are given, and these signs accompany them to show that God is serious about this, and he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And I'm sure that all this stuff, all the news of all this stuff, was reported back to Jeroboam after it happened. But despite all this, even after this, Jeroboam did not change his evil ways, but once more appointed priests for the high places from all sorts of people. Anyone who wanted to become a priest, he consecrated for the high places. This was the sin of the house of Jeroboam that led to its downfall and to its destruction from the face of the earth. Let's go ahead and read the next section now. 1 Kings chapter 14. At that time, Abijah, son of Jeroboam, became ill. And Jeroboam said to his wife, "Go, disguise yourself, so that you won't be recognized as the wife of Jeroboam. Then go to Shiloh. Ahijah the prophet is there. He's the one who told me that I'd be king over this people. Take 10 loaves of bread with you, some cakes, and a jar of honey, and go to him. He will tell you what will happen to the boy." So Jeroboam's wife did what he said, and went to Ahijah's house in Shiloh. If only it were always that easy to get women to do what we tell them to do, huh, guys? Well, in this case, her son is at risk. Maybe that's what motivated her to follow her husband's orders. Now, Ahijah could not see. His sight was gone because of his age. But the Lord had told Ahijah, "Jeroboam's wife is coming to ask you about her son, for he is ill. And you are to give her such and such an answer." We'll get the answer from God, don't worry. Right now we're just saying such and such. When she arrives, she will pretend to be someone else. So when Ahijah heard the sound of her footsteps at the door, he said, "Come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why this pretense? I have been sent to you with bad news." You know, like telling people bad news? He's got bad news to tell the wife of Jeroboam. "Go. Tell Jeroboam this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says." So this is now going to be the condemnation against Jeroboam. We've read about his sin. We've spent a chapter and a half detailing the sin of Jeroboam. And now we're going to be reading his condemnation. The statement of condemnation against him. This same guy, this same prophet, had given him the prophecy about him becoming king in the first place, and had told him, on behalf of God, who put the message in his mouth, to say that if he had followed God's commands, his line was going to be as secure as David's line down in the south. Well, Jeroboam didn't do that. We just got done discussing all the ways in which he didn't do that. So now, here comes God's rebuke of Jeroboam. And he's had time. He's had opportunities. He's had prophets come and go, and men of God speak to him, and he hasn't paid heed to them. He's still doing the sin that he was not supposed to do. So now comes the decisive condemnation, statement of condemnation. "I have bad news. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I raised you up from among the people, and made you a leader over my people Israel. I tore the kingdom away from the house of David, and gave it to you. But you have not been like my servant David, who kept my commands and followed me with all his heart, doing only what was right in my eyes. You have done more evil than all who lived before you. You have made for yourself other gods, idols made of metal. You have provoked me to anger and thrust me behind your back. So he has put God behind him. God's place is somewhere back there as far as Jeroboam is concerned. I don't know how far back there, but just back there somewhere. That's where God goes, in Jeroboam's way of thinking. So because of this, God is still speaking. Because of this, I'm going to bring disaster on the house of Jeroboam. I will cut off from Jeroboam every last male in Israel, slave or free. I will burn up the house, and that's his male descendants, not every male in Israel, his male descendants in Israel. I will burn up the house of Jeroboam as one burns dung until it's all gone. Dogs will eat those belonging to Jeroboam who die in the city, and the birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country. The Lord has spoken. If you get eaten by a dog, eventually you're going to get pooped out by that dog. So you're going to be left as piles of dung scattered throughout the countryside. If you get eaten by a bird, you're eventually going to get pooped out by that bird. So you'll be left as piles of bird poop scattered over the countryside. That's what's going to happen to the house of Jeroboam. They're going to end up as piles of dung scattered around the countryside. As for you, so now the prophet is speaking to the wife of Jeroboam specifically here. Go back home. When you set foot in your city, the boy will die. That's the actual answer to his question. This is the question that Jeroboam sent his wife here to ask, and this is the answer that she's getting to that question. All Israel will mourn for him, and will bury him. He is the only one belonging to Jeroboam who will be buried. Remember, that's an honorable burial. But ending up as dog or bird poo is pretty dishonorable. Okay? You don't get much lower than that, ending up as piles of poop scattered across the countryside. That's a shameful death. That's a shameful way to die and be buried. This is the only one in Jeroboam's house who's going to get a proper, honorable burial. Because he is the only one in the house of Jeroboam in whom the Lord, the God of Israel, has found anything good. I don't know what that is. I don't know how good this guy was. I don't know if it was a single thing about him that was good, or if he was a guy who did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. I don't know. But God is killing this guy now to spare him the humiliation that comes later. He is not going to heal this young man. He is not going to make him better. He is going to take him in this illness for the sake of delivering him from the judgment against the rest of the house that is to come. Sometimes, maybe the most merciful thing God can do to us is kill us. In this case, that's what he's doing to this Abijah character. I don't know what Abijah did that was good. I don't know how good he actually was. I don't know if he just had one thing good about him, or if he was a good guy, a righteous man that God wanted to spare from the future judgment. I don't know. But whatever the case is, however he ended up this way, God decided to spare him from the judgment that is to come on the rest of the house of Jeroboam. And he did it by killing him through an illness beforehand. We can take exception with that. That can bother us all we want it to bother us. But God is sovereign and has the right to do that whenever he sees fit. In the end, we can't really complain. As much as we may want to, as much as we may desire to, in the end, that's God's word in the matter, and that's it. The Lord will raise up for himself a king. He's still talking, by the way. Ahijah the prophet is still talking. The Lord will raise up for himself a king over Israel who will cut off the family of Jeroboam. This is the day. What? Yes, even now. And the Lord will strike Israel so it'll be like a reed swaying in the water. This is the northern kingdom of Israel. He will uproot Israel from this good land that he gave to their forefathers and scatter them beyond the river. That's a reference to the Assyrian captivity, which is still 200 years in the future at this point. Because they provoked the Lord to anger by making Asherah poles. And he will give Israel up because of the sins Jeroboam has committed and has caused Israel to commit. Now, that's going to be 200 years in the future. The final judgment against Israel won't happen until 722 BC. We're in about 911 BC right now, or something like that. So about 200 years from now. Now remember, this is being written, of course, after this happens, and it's being written as a reminder and a warning to the people of the writer's day about why Israel ended up doing this and having these problems happen. But they're never going to give up this sin. Jeroboam's sin of idolatry is never going to get corrected out of the northern kingdom of Israel. And so they're going to continue this for the next 200 years, and that's what's going to end up destroying them. Then Jeroboam's wife got up and left and went to Tirzah. As soon as she stepped over the threshold of the house, the boy died. They buried him, and all Israel mourned for him, as the Lord had said through his servant the prophet Ahijah. The other events of Jeroboam's reign, his wars, and how he ruled, are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. Again, I don't have that book any longer. Nobody has access to that book anymore. I'd like to read that book. That'd be a very interesting book to read. We don't have it anymore. So I don't know about the rest of Jeroboam's reign. I don't know about his wars. I don't know about how he ruled. All I have is about 2 or 3 chapters worth of the book of 1 Kings. That's it. That's all I got. However much material there was before that in this other book that this author drew from, that's gone. That's all lost. Maybe someday they'll find it somewhere. Maybe someday they'll be in some cave or basement somewhere in Israel, and they'll find a row of pots, and in these pots are scrolls, and one of these scrolls happens to be that book. Maybe. I hope so. That'd be neat. That'd be really neat. I'd like to read that book. But that's not the case right now. So I don't know what the other events of Jeroboam's reign are about. But they were written down at some point in time somewhere in history. He reigned for 22 years and then rested with his father. He became king, of course, in 930 BC. So we're going down now to about 908 BC. And Nadab, his son, succeeded him as king.